In case we have never met, I'm Michael Price, and I want to help you succeed in the GSA and VA contract world.
Welcome. I'm Michael Price, your host.
And I'm Nancy, your co-host. Today is August 15th.
Imagine opening an official letter from the government, right? And it's basically guaranteeing your financial security for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's a massive deal.
It really is. I mean, the paperwork literally stamps the word permanent across your file. You breathe this massive sigh of relief. But what if I told you that a simple routine visit to your primary care doctor could put that at risk?
Oh, wow.
Or even just, checking the wrong box on an online form could legally erase that permanence overnight.
It creates this incredibly stressful paradox. I mean, you are handed a designation that implies absolute certainty, right? Fixed, unchangeable security.
Right.
Yet underneath that bold lettering, the bureaucracy has woven this very delicate tripwire.
Which is exactly why we are taking today's deep dive. We're looking at a stack of really detailed notes alongside a rather eye-opening transcript from the Military Insider show.
Yeah, that transcript was intense.
It really was.
Yeah.
And all of this source material is centered on navigating one of the most highly sought-after, yet misunderstood statuses for a military veteran, the VA disability rating of 100% permanent and total costs, or P&T as it's commonly known.
Right, and this specific rating is really the pinnacle of the VA disability compensation system. I mean, it's designed to provide ultimate financial peace of mind.
For veterans whose service-connected disabilities are both entirely disabling and, medically expected to last for the remainder of their lives.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to extract the signal from the noise. We want to cut through the forum rumors, the fear-mongering, and all that bad advice floating around out there.
And there's a lot of bad advice.
Oh, tons of it. We're going to give you a clear step-by-step guide on how to actually protect that 100% P&T status without sacrificing your own physical or mental health in the process. Okay, let's unpack this, because before you can build a wall around your rating, you really have to verify what your rating actually is.
Yeah, you do.
And that requires decoding the VA's highly specific vocabulary.
And the vocabulary is where so many people take a wrong turn, honestly. The VA operates on a specialized legal dictionary.
Right, they have their own language.
Yeah, words that sound like everyday synonyms in plain English. They have vastly different mechanical meanings when they're actually applied to a claims file.
Totally. The sources highlight a few key terms we need to dissect, starting with the word total. In the context of a VA rating, total simply dictates that the Department of Veterans Affairs considers your service-connected disabilities to be 100% disabling. It's purely a measurement of your current impairment.
But severity doesn't dictate duration, A condition can be totally disabling today, but the medical consensus might be that, it'll improve tomorrow.
Okay, that makes sense.
That distinction is where the term permanent enters the equation. When the VA assigns the word permanent, they are legally acknowledging that your disability, or like the combined math of your multiple disabilities, is reasonably certain to continue for the rest of your life without improvement.
Which brings us to a third really heavily weighted word in these documents, which is static.
Yes, the concept of a static condition is the foundational building block of a permanent and total rating. To understand why the VA cares about this, you really have to understand the underlying mechanism of how they view medicine.
How do you mean?
Well, the VA operates on a baseline assumption of expected improvement. So if a medical textbook dictates that, say, a major joint replacement requires 12 months of rehabilitation.
Right.
The VA's bureaucratic machinery expects your condition to improve at that 12-month mark.
They anticipate the human body doing what it's supposed to do, right? Which is to heal.
Precisely. A static designation is the VA's formal medical concession that science and time have done all they can do. The condition has peaked.
Okay, so it's not getting any better.
Exactly. Because they no longer expect the body to heal or the symptoms to improve, they classify it as static. And once that classification is made, the VA drops the administrative requirement to schedule routine future examinations to reevaluate it.
And the sources are very careful to distinguish this from another scenario that trips up a lot of veterans. There is a massive structural difference between a true 100% P&T rating and a temporary 100% rating.
Oh, absolutely.
The temporary rating is built for acute medical situations, like if you are undergoing aggressive chemotherapy for active cancer, or you're facing a massive hospitalization and recovery window from a severe surgery.
Right. The VA recognizes that you are 100% disabled during that specific time frame.
Exactly.
But the operating mechanism there is the temporary medical circumstance. Once the cancer enters remission or, the surgical recovery window closes, the acute incapacitation has theoretically resolved.
Makes sense.
Therefore, temporary 100% ratings always come with scheduled future exams. The system is legally programmed to review and potentially reduce that rating once the acute phase is over.
But to know which one you actually have, you have to bypass all the rumors and go straight to your own paperwork.
Yes, look at the actual letters.
You need to pull up your decision letter or your benefit summary letter or your rating code sheet. You are scanning those pages for very specific legal phrasing. You want to see the words permanent and total. You want to see your specific conditions legally listed as static, and most importantly, you're looking for a definitive sentence that states, no future examinations are scheduled.
That's the golden sentence.
Yeah. If your paperwork flags a date for a follow-up exam in 3 years, you likely have a temporary rating, not a permanent one.
And for anyone digging through these letters and just feeling overwhelmed by the bureaucratic jargon, the consensus across the sources is to reach out to a professional.
Like a VSO.
Yeah, an accredited veteran service officer, a claims agent, or an attorney. Guessing your status based on a confusing letter can lead to disastrous procedural mistakes down the line.
Yeah, don't guess.
Just let a professional translate the file.
But even if you have the magic words in your file, even if you are officially 100% permanent and total and completely exempt from routine future exams, we have to clarify a somewhat harsh reality. Permanent is not a magic, impenetrable shield.
What's fascinating here is how bureaucratic systems define the very limits of permanence. It's really a conditional permanence. Yeah. The VA retains the statutory authority to initiate a review of a permanent rating if they uncover evidence of fraud. They can also reopen the file if they discover a clear and unmistakable legal error in how the original rating decision was made, or if there's a material change that legally forces their hand to reevaluate the status.
You know, I look at a P&T rating kind of like a university professor receiving tenure.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Right, because once you secure tenure, your position is incredibly safe. You're no longer subjected to the grueling, high-stress annual performance reviews that junior faculty have to endure to keep their jobs.
You get to breathe easier.
Exactly. You get to breathe easier. But if the university suddenly discovers you, like completely fabricated your resume to get hired in the first place,
Right?
or if there was a massive administrative violation in how your tenure was awarded, that protection can absolutely be ripped away. Tenure is permanent, but it does not place you above a law.
And just like that university tenure committee, the VA has specific triggers that bypass your protective status. You are shielded from routine scrutiny, but you are never shielded from systemic corrections.
Right.
Understanding where that boundary lies is vital, because it directly feeds into the psychological toll the system takes on veterans, particularly regarding how they manage their daily health care.
And that brings us to what I think is the most insidious part of this whole deep dive. Let's call it the healthcare fallacy.
Okay.
Once a veteran verifies their paperwork and confirms they have true P&T status, a very real paranoia often sets in.
Oh, for sure.
There is this widespread, deeply entrenched rumor in the veteran community that if you do not go to the VA hospital for every single ache and pain, the VA will assume you are magically cured and strip your benefits away.
And it is such a damaging misconception. It stems from a fundamental misunderstanding of the VA's architecture.
How so?
Well, veterans frequently blur the lines between the Veterans Health Administration, which provides medical care, and the Veterans Benefits Administration, which handles disability claims and compensation.
Right. VHA versus VBA.
Exactly. These are two completely distinct entities with entirely different mandates.
And the sources hit this point hard. Routine care is just health care. Going to physical therapy, talking to a mental health counselor, or seeing your primary care physician is about maintaining your body and mind. Veterans are under zero obligation to receive all their medical treatment through the VA to keep 100% P&T rating. You are entirely free to use private doctors, employer-sponsored health insurance, Medicare, TRICARE, or community care networks.
Yeah. The compensation is based on the legal severity of your service-connected disabilities. It's not about your loyalty to a specific VA clinic.
Furthermore, stepping away from routine treatment does not generate an automatic cancellation of a P&T rating.
Right? The VBA does not utilize some automated tracking system that slashes your financial compensation simply because your VA hospital ID card hasn't been scanned at a pharmacy window in the last 12 months.
But we have to emphasize a crucial health warning here, because this specific fear of the bureaucracy pushes people to do incredibly dangerous things.
It really does.
The Military Insider Show transcript stresses that a veteran should never ever stop taking prescribed medications just because of a rumor that getting better will threaten their rating.
That's so important.
The idea that if my blood pressure finally stabilizes, they'll take my money.
Hmm.
That leads to reckless decisions. Stopping medications for severe mental health conditions, seizure disorders, heart disease, or chronic pain without direct medical supervision is just a gamble with your life.
Absolutely. The ultimate priority must be finding a treatment protocol that is safe and effective for you. Your disability rating is meant to compensate you for the impairment. It should never become this psychological barrier that prevents you from seeking medically necessary relief.
Okay, but I have to push back on this a little bit because the sources also mention the importance of a paper trail.
Right?
If the benefit side of the VA truly doesn't care if I use private doctors or if I take a break from treatment entirely, what happens if my rating does get pulled for a review for some completely separate reason and I have absolutely zero medical records for the last 5 years?
Yeah, that's a problem.
Doesn't an empty file hurt my case?
If we connect this to the bigger picture of how bureaucratic evidence functions, your concern is incredibly valid. You're highlighting the concept of the evidentiary vacuum.
The evidentiary vacuum.
Yeah. If a review is triggered, and we'll explore exactly how those triggers get tripped shortly, the VA is legally obligated to look for current medical evidence to document the present severity of your symptoms.
And if you haven't seen a doctor in half a decade, you hand them a blank slate.
Exactly. A long gap in medical records doesn't serve as medical proof that you spontaneously healed. However, it severely weakens your defensive paper trail.
You don't have proof, you're still hurting.
Right. You are left with a massive void of current evidence documenting your daily limitations. Furthermore, if you have been utilizing private doctors out in the civilian world, the VA does not automatically possess those records.
Oh, true.
They cannot evaluate evidence they don't know exists.
Which means you have to be the custodian of your own evidence. The takeaway here is to always keep thorough, up-to-date copies of your private medical records.
Yes, always.
If a bureaucratic review ever crashes into your life, you want to be able to drop a massive stack of private medical records on the desk and say, yes, I am still heavily impacted by these conditions, and here is the continuous proof from my private specialists.
Exactly.
You can be selfish with where you get your health care, but you cannot afford to disappear from the medical system entirely.
You must maintain a verifiable trail of your health journey because while skipping a routine checkup with a primary care doctor is completely safe, there is one very specific type of medical appointment that acts as an absolute bureaucratic tripwire.
So if avoiding the doctor doesn't put a target on your back, what actually does? That leads us directly into the danger zones.
And the ultimate tripwire here is the compensation and pension examination, universally referred to as a C&P exam.
It is vital to understand that a C&P exam is entirely segregated from your standard healthcare process.
Completely different.
When you sit down in that exam room, the person across from you is not there to offer therapy, prescribe medication, or formulate a treatment plan.
Nope.
Their sole exclusive purpose is to perform an objective evaluation to help the VA decide a claim, measure the exact severity of a disability, or formally review an existing rating.
It is an adversarial or at least highly clinical legal evaluation, and it is the one appointment you absolutely cannot ignore. If you receive an official notice in the mail mandating a C&P exam or a review exam, you must comply regardless of whether your file says 100% P&T.
The sources mention that throwing that notice in the trash is a catastrophic mistake, but I'm confused. If a veteran is permanently rated and technically exempt from routine exams, why does missing this specific appointment give the VA grounds to cut their benefits?
Well, under federal VA regulations, failing to report for a legally required examination without establishing good cause is a severe procedural violation.
Oh, well.
It legally permits the VA to take adverse action against your benefits based solely on the existing evidence in your file. And if you're actively avoiding an examination, the bureaucracy generally assumes the missing evidence would not have been in your favor.
Now, obviously, real life happens. A veteran might miss an exam because they were suddenly hospitalized, or they suffered a major family emergency, or they're struggling with sudden homelessness.
And those scenarios strictly fall under the definition of good cause. However, the burden of communication falls entirely on the veteran.
You have to tell them.
Yes, you must contact the VA or the private examination contractor the moment you realize there is a conflict. The standard guidance strongly recommends requesting a schedule change at least 48 hours in advance if humanly possible.
And if it's too late for that?
If a sudden emergency already occurred and you missed the time slot, you have to call them immediately, document the severe situation, and formally request to reschedule. You cannot simply let it sit in the system as a default no-show.
We know the consequences of ignoring a C&P exam are dire, but that circles back to the million-dollar question. If I am 100% permanent and total, and I am formally exempt from routine future exams, what mechanism actually triggers a new C&P exam in the first place?
Well, the VA might generate a new exam request if a quality assurance review flags a glaring error, or if they discover wildly conflicting information in your historical file that requires modern verification.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because while the VA might occasionally stumble upon an anomaly in the archives, the sources make it clear that very often the veteran is the one who unintentionally triggers the review of their own file.
It's true. The single most common trigger that forces a new exam for a veteran who is already rated P&T is the act of filing a brand new claim.
This is what the veteran community calls poking the bear.
Yes, poking the bear.
A new exam is almost guaranteed to be triggered if you file a new disability claim, if you officially request an increased rating for an existing condition, or if you attempt to claim a new condition that is secondary to an existing one.
This raises an important question. If a veteran has already achieved the maximum standard compensation level of 100% permanent and total, what is the logical motivation for filing an additional claim?
From reading through the Military Insider Show transcript, it usually comes down to terrible advice. A veteran might be at the VFW or scrolling through an online forum, and they're told by well-meaning friends that filing for a new secondary condition is essentially free money or an easy benefit. They might develop severe sleep apnea years after their service and think, well, my service-connected PTSD caused this. I earned the right to claim it, so I will.
And the impulse to claim what you suffer from is entirely understandable. However, the procedural reality is unforgiving.
Very.
Filing a new claim forces the VBA to physically open and review your entire claims file. The evaluators have to look at the new evidence you submitted, and in doing so, they are legally permitted to review the medical evidence related to your current permanent disabilities.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If they spot something in that deep dive that suggests your permanent conditions have drastically improved, it can affect your overall rating.
It's like inviting a city building inspector into your house to approve a permit for a slightly leaky faucet.
That's a great way to put it.
You think it's a minor isolated issue, but while they are standing in your basement looking at the pipes, they decide to reevaluate the entire structural foundation of your home. You are the one who opened the door and invited the scrutiny inside.
The sources are unequivocal on this front. A new claim should only be filed if there is a highly legitimate, medically devastating condition backed by airtight evidence and only after consulting a professional.
Right. You have to be careful.
You have to weigh the massive risk of a full file review against the potential benefit. If you are already at 100%, an additional 10% rating is often financially negligible unless that specific new condition legally qualifies you for special monthly compensation, which is a separate, highly complex tier of benefits.
It's the ultimate case of unintended consequences. You chase a minor, unnecessary addition based on bad advice, and you unintentionally place your core, permanent financial security under a bureaucratic microscope.
And the machinery of the VA is entirely blind to a veteran's intent. When a new claim form is submitted, the gears of the bureaucracy start turning exactly as they are legally programmed to turn.
Yeah, regardless of whether the veteran just wanted a quick, easy approval for a minor issue.
So what does this all mean? We have waded through a massive amount of dense vocabulary, debunked healthcare rumors, and identified some very real bureaucratic tripwires.
We covered a lot.
We did. Rather than just repeating a checklist, let's summarize the necessary mindset shift you need to adopt to protect that 100% permanent and total status.
It requires a shift from passive relief to active, informed vigilance.
First, you have to be radically proactive with your paperwork. Don't operate on assumptions. Verify your exact status by looking for the words permanent and total, static, and no future examinations scheduled.
Right.
Recognize that a temporary 100% rating for a major surgery is not the same thing, and it absolutely will be reviewed.
Second, you must conceptualize the profound firewall between routine healthcare and benefits exams.
Be selfish with your healthcare. Make your medical choices based on your actual physical and mental needs. Use private doctors if you prefer, take your prescribed medications, and never choose to stay sick just to protect a rating. Exactly.
But maintain a robust, highly organized private paper trail of your medical records just in case the VA ever asks to see your homework. Never casually ignore a C&P exam notice because that is a mandatory legal evaluation, not a therapy session. Reschedule it immediately if you have a genuine documented emergency.
And finally, exercise extreme caution before filing any new claims once you have reached the 100% P&T threshold. Understand the immense risk of poking the bear for an unnecessary benefit and inadvertently triggering a review of your entire foundation.
Navigating this massive bureaucracy can feel like walking through a minefield while wearing a blindfold. It is designed to be complex,
Very much so.
but really doesn't have to be overwhelming when you understand the mechanics of the traps. Today's deep dive is meant to give you the conceptual map you need to secure the benefits you've already fought for and earned.
And the entire system as it stands today is heavily reliant on the veteran manually distinguishing between a routine, helpful message from their personal doctor and a mandatory high-stakes legal notice from the benefits office, which actually leaves me with a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to ponder, something outside the immediate scope of our sources today.
Oh, I always love these. What are you thinking?
Well, we've spent this entire conversation detailing how heavily the burden rests on the veteran to manually manage this divide, curating their own private records, strategically deciding when to file a claim, and understanding the precise difference between a health appointment and a C&P exam.
Right.
But as we look toward the near future with the rapid integration of artificial intelligence and the massive global push for unified digital health records, how is that technology going to permanently alter this landscape?
That is a fascinating angle. Will AI and deeply interconnected medical databases finally simplify this massive burden for veterans?
Mm-hmm.
Will systems automatically sync private health data so a veteran never has to worry about an evidentiary gap in their records again?
That would be the dream.
Or will that exact same technology unintentionally trigger a wave of automated robotic rating reviews? If an AI system is constantly, quietly scanning your unified digital health record and detects that your chronic pain has stabilized for 6 months, will it automatically generate a C&P exam notice without a single human ever looking at the file?
Oh, wow.
As technology evolves to make massive bureaucracies more efficient, we have to critically ask if that efficiency will actually serve the veteran or simply serve the machine.
That is a brilliant and honestly slightly terrifying question to leave off on.
Yeah, the very definition of permanent might eventually be decided by a predictive algorithm, but until that day comes, we have to navigate the system we currently have. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us. Check your paperwork, build your paper trail, take care of your health first and foremost, and respect the tripwires. We will catch you on the next one.
If you found this video helpful, please consider donating to helpallvets.org. Thank you.
A special thank you to MarketUS.com for furnishing us this information. You can reach them at MarketUS.com or call them at 954-636-3232. Before we go, this deep dive was created by the MarketUS.com team. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. It's right below the subscribe link.